Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Creative Mind Podcast. I don't know why I just blanked on my own show's name. Whatever. Welcome back to the Creative Mind Podcast. I'm your host, Byron Craig, and today we're taking a nice trip out west. We're going to the Bay, out in Oakland, California. Yay. My guest today, she is the founder of Solid Grounds. She is the co-founder of Soulbox Supper Club. So if you know what that is, she does that with her best friend, Chef Tirza. But also, she calls herself a social architect, and I believe her because she is a boss. She is a queen. She is Paul Bayte. She is all of these things all wrapped up into one. But I know her most as my friend. She's my friend, Taylor Nanz.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me on here.
Absolutely.
I'm excited.
I am so grateful that you did it. And for your yes, because I've been like, when I first started the podcast, you were one of the first people I was like, I want Taylor. I gotta get Taylor. So when you said yes, I was like, I bet.
I have been wanting to do this too. I've been watching the growth of it. And then I saw you take a little break, come back to it. And yeah, I love that. I love that. You know, I love that there's space for us to sometimes take a pause, take a moment, get back to things. And I'm just so appreciative that you allowed me the space to be here as well. Cause you know, your girl was busy, and last year was also a lot of burnout. So I think coming back from that, I feel a lot more confident with where I am. And, you know, I feel a lot more wise about all that I've learned in like such a short span of time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Burnout is a crazy thing. I'm going through it in the midst of my current job of burnout and just over everything. What did you do to like combat that burnout? I mean, did it take the entire 2023 into 24? Or I guess 24 and then 25? Jeez, I forget the years all the time.
It took a long time. It took a long time because I was in the midst of burnout. Like I knew that I was pushing really hard, but you know, before the pod, I was kind of mentioning this, like it was survival mode as well. I had moved out to the Bay 5 years ago, and before my job was in tech, like, you know, I was trying to build and save and all the things, but then after experiencing layoffs and deciding, you know what, I just want to like try to create these spaces instead of forcing myself into them. I didn't know how long that was going to go for. I didn't know, you know, what it would turn into. I just kind of said yes and was like, let's try it out. Let's have an event. Let's do another one. And then it started to grow and take off. And I was like, okay, well, how do I still sustain? And then the pressure, like I take care of, you know, I have a home in Atlanta and my mom's out there. I got rent out here that is crazy high. And, you know, and I think I was just taking on so much and just trying to figure out, like, find any opportunity. And I was like, I'm just going to grind through it. And so everything was a yes. And through that, I learned a lot about worth and like just so much. But I think ultimately that process was so stressful all the time because you really like couldn't rely on anything consistent. It was all, and that a lot of freelancers and a lot of entrepreneurs know that struggle so intimately. And so you would think that then you'd have so much community. And even as a community organizer, like I'm building these spaces, but then you're also so isolated because you're literally just trying to like get to the next thing, or you're like trying to move quickly. So yeah, burnout was really, really challenging. And I think I'm just now coming off the crux of it and being really, really cautious not to re-enter, because I do still have that survival mode instinct going of like, oh shit, but you got to get that next thing,
Right.
or shoot.
I don't. Hey, it's all good. Be yourself. I cuss all the time, but I just, people don't know that. Well, people go to my church, but if you ever talk to me on the phone, then you get the real. But it's all right. For those who don't know, because I'm gonna assume anybody who's not in the Bay doesn't know, in this podcast, it'd be hitting Australia, Kenya. It does numbers otherwhere. Tell people what is Solid Grounds. Tell people what Soulbox Supper Club. Tell everybody what you do.
Yeah. So Solid Grounds is what is it? It's a creative agency.
She said, what is it?
What is it? It's so many things, right? I say that because it started off with a dream to build a coffee shop that was also an incubator space that supported Black and Brown businesses and just really created pathways that uplift Black people, that, break down barriers to opportunity. And so originally that was what I wanted, was just like a safe space for people to be able to come, to make authentic connections. But then also, like, I recognized that we as Black people are not a monolith, and we take up all these different spaces. And there's so many experts in these spaces that have their own struggles, that, have their own expertise that we don't get to see because maybe they don't have the platform, or the, planning events to showcase your talents can be a really hard thing. And that was what my professional background was in. And so I mentioned that I call myself a social architect. I knew how to connect the dots, and I used events as the conduit to that. And so once I realized how crazy the Bay Area prices were, I was like, ain't no way I'm having a physical space right now. And I was like, but I could use my partnerships and my event background to maybe partner with a local Black-owned coffee roaster. And that's what I did. So they became my coffee partners, and we would host these events. And then I was like, I'll use, my background in sponsorship to ask some venues, can you host me, or can I do this event for free? And so it started out that way. And we were just doing these pop-up events. And that grew from, like, I think my first event after being laid off was a networking mixer for Black people who have been laid off. But I was like, can we all get together and talk about it? One of y'all got to have a referral.
Somebody.
But that was the power of community, and like how important it was to kind of build the people that you wanted to work with and collaborate with and be around. And so then it turned into event production. But I don't like to call myself an event production agency only, because we really focus on kind of the curation of culturally forward spaces. And so I'm not just saying yes to any job. Like, nobody can really hire me to like plan their wedding. However, like it looks like open mic nights. We've had, art galleries. We just did an event during Afrotech in Houston last year. We offer wellness activations. We really partner with other collaborators. And that's why I say it's an agency, to like build intentional spaces for people to connect and to build community and to be each other's resource in a real way. And so that's Solid Grounds. And then through Solid Grounds, I co-founded Soulbox Supper Club. You mentioned, I do that with my bestie, Chef Tirza. She has been on HBO, Food Network, all the things. She's a really dope chef. And so we created Soulbox Supper Club as a pop-up supper club experience that's meant to reimagine Sunday supper. So we bring people together. It's communal dining. It's a 5-course curated meal, and I guide the conversation. And Chef Tirza makes the plates, and then we have a portrait pop-up. We have live music or a DJ, and we have really intentional user design user experience elements to really help people connect and build community and reimagine, Sunday suppers, getting together, getting the whole family together, and you're laughing at the table. You're having deep conversations at the table.
Sure.
Y'all maybe eating and drinking at the table. And so that's really kind of where that started.
That's amazing. It's
so fun too.
Is it really?
It really is, because I love food.
Of course.
So
same.
And Tirza is a really, really bomb cook. She throws down in the kitchen. And so being able to work on this with her has been a really fun way for us to connect and just be, just see each other through not only our friendship, but this really special thing that's near and dear to us, and getting people together. She always says that food is the great connector, and it is, across all cultures, all countries. People know the feeling around communal dining and sharing a meal, breaking bread.
Of course.
And so being able to bring my expertise and her expertise together to build this has been really cool.
I love that. I would love to have a conversation with her. I had my cousin Michael. He's a chef in LA, Anaheim area. He's got a couple of restaurants. Amazing. That was a cool conversation, but I would love to talk to her and get a female chef's perspective on just the whole everything. I really tried really hard to get a very well-known chef, but that didn't work out. But she's in the Bay, but I still love her though.
Oh, let me know, because I got the plug on some people.
Oh, for real?
So we'll talk after this.
Oh,
but
yeah,
also, I can definitely connect you with Tirza. She would love to. She has great insights to share as well, just about community. And then also she's been on a lot of TV shows. She can kind of share her experiences about what that world was like.
Yeah.
Lodged in different countries. And I think the other piece too is for our supper club, we try to get help and support from local community as well. Yeah. And she's very passionate about teaching, and it can be really difficult in the kitchen. I don't know if you've seen what's that show that's the Bear or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like that in the kitchen. It's toxic environments. And so if you're, for example, our sous chef, young Black woman who just moved to the Bay and didn't really have any community, as she was working in Michelin star restaurants, and it's just very stressful in those situations. So being able to work with us and have Tirza as a guide was very, very good for her, because Tirza's very about it in the kitchen, but she also has this loving energy of I want you to learn. I want you to win. Yeah. You are, you're cared for, you have community. And so that's a great balance for the stress that comes in an environment where that's not the case.
Of course. What it sounds like is Tirza cares about people, but she's also general, looking hey, you got to get your stuff together and we gonna get this food out. But also on the side, I care about you as a human being. You're more than just this sous chef in the kitchen, which is what most Michelin places are you're just a chef. And then you go home and you work your 12, 15 hours and you turn around and do it again, and then you get burnt out real quick.
Right.
Crazy.
Wait, so tell me about your burnout.
My burnout? Oh,
yeah. What has that experience been for you?
So I work in tech right now, but the more that I stay doing what I do, the more I see, cause let me back up. I really have this really big passion for people. If I think I've talked to you about it a little bit, but I have the nonprofit, but also Big Break itself, it's people based. It literally cares about people and creatives and trying to literally help creatives. And the fact that I'm not able to do that and pursue that full time, if I didn't have kids or a family, I just make the leap, waste all my money, do that. But I don't. So like I have to work to be able to provide to do that. And the more that the closer that I get to having the fully formed, everything ready to go, big break means it's the further away that it's the closer. I just remain at my job and I get more and more burnt out, but I'm getting closer to my goal, but I'm having to stay at a place where things are not as people oriented as I would like them to be. They just let go of some people today, and layoffs are obviously common in this world, but I guess for me, it's like from top down leadership, culture's wrong. But in my mind, I'm like, you could fix it, but no one listens. And I'm like, you could fix it. So like, I'm just burnt out on being there, but going to like, I have goals. Like I'm trying to buy a house and all this other stuff. But like, obviously if I buy a house, I can't quit my job because then I won't get a loan. And even then I can't really start a new job and go, oh my God, it was so toxic at my old place. But they're like, you've only been here a month. And I'm like, look at my history. So I mean, so like there's cons and pluses and minuses everywhere. So, but yeah, it's for me, every day that I get closer and closer, because every day is closer and closer to the promise of the dream and the vision that God gave me. Every day that I get closer is another day. I'm like, I just get more and more tired and burnt out. So I know that season, even though my boss doesn't listen to this, that season I know is already coming to an end. It's just about when. And then I'm like, then now it's like, what next? I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to just like up and quit my job and just go, fuck it. I'm over it. This is stupid. But I know I have 2 daughters to take care of and I can't just up and quit.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. And I think that's what's hard, right? Is the pressure that also comes along with like, what do I do and how do I still fulfill my purpose and make things happen? And at the same time, like, how do I make sure that like things are secure?
Yep.
It was a constant battle. And I felt like I didn't, I mean, even now it's like, then it switches though. Like I was 2 years full-time entrepreneurship. I'm not even gonna hold you. I'm still full-time entrepreneurship, even doing this role. Like I've kind of made it a way to do both, but they're separate. And so that means like, it's just constant. It's a constant grind. Yeah. And last year, even more so because there was no like even little bit of cushion. At least now I'm like, I would say on the bridge of like, okay, there's like some stability instead of like, dang, they ain't getting that. This is like,
rough in these streets.
But the way that I have kind of justified, it is one, just reminding myself, like, it doesn't matter, like, what ends up happening, like, I don't have to have solid grounds for it. I don't know what it will look like, right? It's changed forms in so many ways up until this point. Yeah. But at least I can say, like, oh, I said I wanted to do this thing and I did it. Yeah. And also I feel like we're still young enough, like failing fast is a very big thing that they teach you in tech. Yep. And so like, I think that's also a big piece of it is like the power of pivot and how can I make things move. Yeah. And it doesn't always come right away, but like what I hear you saying is you're already kind of planning on like what that pivot will look like. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, in that is hope. Oh, of course. and in that preparation, like things will align. And we have like, if it's not, now that I have a role as well, it's like now there's this new added pressure of like making sure that I'm not doing mediocre work there, as opposed to focusing on the business. So I feel like there's always something that comes up, and it's just a matter of like, how do you pivot through, and like, are you able to, do you have the confidence that you'll be able to make a way? And this whole process has been just a moment, a season of growth and learning and building that confidence for myself. The more that I started to be clear about my intentions, my worth, like what I was going to do, the more that I said yes to things, the more that I proved to myself in the hardest parts, where I was like, there's literally no way that I can pay all these bills, or like, there's literally no way that they're getting rent, like that. And then I was able to like, make it work, make something out of nothing. That constant practice is like a muscle, and you start to build that confidence of like, yep, I can do it. And no matter what happens, I can still do it. Even in the worst case scenario, I'm still going to get it out the mud. Absolutely. And like, I think that it's a bit of resilience, but it's also like trusting in yourself, and that timeline can spread, it can change. And I think sometimes too, like I remember after COVID, and especially with layoffs, like people started their own things, and there was almost like this stigma around going back to work. Or like, and not being able to be like, okay, I went into entrepreneurship and now I made it fully. And in reality, like, that's not how things work. Right. Like sometimes, and that's the power of pivot, right? Like sometimes you gotta take this and do these, I had 20 million jobs last year because I was taking contracts. Even now I run like 5 social media pages. I got Soul Pepper Club. We got Solid Grounds. We got, there's so many different things now, and lots of learning, lots of growing, but all based on like what it is that I'm trying to build, and with that intention in mind. So yeah, I think, and that looks like sometimes having to take roles here and there, sometimes pulling this and doing that. And I just try to make sure that it all somehow matches up to what my end goal is going to be. And I've seen the result. I mean, even with Udemy, I was laid off. That was where I was laid off, and they hired me back the next year as Solid Grounds to curate their Black History Month programming. And then they hired me again this year, and instead of doing it just in SF, it was San Francisco, it was Dublin, Ireland, and it was Denver, Colorado. So, and then they was like, we got to run this back. Hey. So, I think that's all what seemed like such a devastating moment then ended up being like, oh, wait, like I just had to pivot my thinking for a second. I just had to pivot my moves, and it will all work out.
Absolutely. I'm learning, or I'm having to like teach myself that in business, it's the same concept as like if you're trying to date somebody. The worst someone can say is no. And a no doesn't hurt. A no, again, creepily, a no can be like, you can be like really creepy and be like, it's not a no right now, but I'm going to keep pressuring until it turns to a yes. And then that's like super creepy. But in business, that works. Like I always
give the advice too, like when it comes to negotiation or like anything like that, like keep asking until you hear a no, and like if you just keep going and keep going. And then one of the things that I heard too, that I think I carried with me was someone was saying like, if everyone says yes, then that means you're not charging enough.
It's very true.
Like you want to hear some no's. You want to hear some no's because some of those no's is not right now.
Yeah.
You know, and there have been a lot of times where opportunities have come and people have been like, hey, this is what we got. And I'm like, nah, that ain't gonna work. And then they've circled the block though, you know, and maybe I was disappointed because the opportunity didn't work or because I felt like, you know, because I couldn't get what I felt like my worth was. And I had to say no to those opportunities. But then they come back though. And then they're like, hey, we got the money now. Now we can pay you. And that again reinforces the confidence piece.
Yeah. I love it. That's no is like your best friend in the best way. And I mean, like you said, get your prices up. If you keep hearing, like you said, I mean, you said it real perfectly. If you hear a lot of yeses, there's something wrong. Unless like the yeses are like, hey, I just got $40 billion in private funding, open AI, for my company. That's a whole bunch of yeses. So
yeah, but going back to, you know, the piece about burnout, because I think people are really experiencing it so much. Like, do you feel like you have community or like, do you feel like this is something where like you tap in with other people and they're like, I'm in the same boat? Like, because I know a lot of people don't like to talk about the things that are not going well, or like a lot of times, especially in our community, you'll find people say like, oh no, I'm fine. Or, you know, I be going to church too. And a lot of us will be like, oh, we'll give it to God. And that is true. And what ways do we also like support each other in these moments where it's like, I have to take down that mask and actually show this vulnerable side that exists.
Yeah. So this is just solely for me. In the last 2, maybe 3 years, I've lived my life by this motto. I live my life open, honest, and transparent. So I mean, like, it's like Mike Todd says it a different way, but I'm open, I'm honest about everything, and I'm transparent about anything. You could ask me literally anything about my life, I will tell you. I'll tell you about, if you really wanted to know, I'd tell you about when I was 9 years old, when I was molested by a person who like I was spending the summers with. I ain't got nothing to hide about that. It happened. That's life. It turned me into who I am. Like, that story can help somebody else. My experience in that story can help somebody else too. I could tell you about me turning down or losing out on the opportunity to get $500,000 for Big Break and failing to do it and thinking I'm having a heart attack. I can tell you about that, like, in depth, like the moment. I can tell you about anything. I am of the mind, like, if I don't tell somebody, what good is it going to do? If you ask me, if Taylor, you go, hey Byron, how are you today? Like, and I said I was living the dream. That would technically, yes, that's true. But to be fair and to answer honestly, it's been a really rough week for me. Like, a really, really bad week. I've been having like this issue with this gentleman in the car, and like, I got in a car wreck 4 months ago. I still don't have my car back. He has my car. He's like a person who is a little character. He said one thing, wrote it to me in text message, and now he's going back on his word and trying to overcharge me. It's a whole thing. But I was really mad at the beginning part of this week, and that just spun over and carried over into my work week, and then work got hard. It's just a long, hard week. But it's easier to tell somebody, I'm living the dream. I'm okay, because to be fair, most people don't care. They're asking just out of pure pleasantry. I'm not saying that was you, but I'm just saying, like, most people, you're like, they don't care, honestly. So you have to like know your audience and go, well, who am I talking? Am I talking to somebody in my community, or am I talking to somebody who is just asking out of pure, like, I want to say pure tradition, like, hey, how are you today? And then like, and then it's just, they move on to the next thing. You're like, oh, it's been a really rough week. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. And then they want to just get to what they want to get to, because because most people are selfish. They only want to talk about what they want to talk, which again is totally fine. you just, that, like, to your point, you have to know the community that you're around and that you're in, of when you're like, okay, cool, I can be vulnerable with these people. And I have that group where I lead a connect group in my church online, and I can be vulnerable with these 60 people who are in this group. And I just met them 2 weeks ago. I can be vulnerable with them because I know that they'll be vulnerable back. So
yeah, that is also a big piece, I think, of like what I'm trying to create in the spaces is like, not just, so usually for each event, I'll have like these conversation cards and they're like icebreakers, but deeper level, because it is really hard to want to be honest or to collaborate, like even to build that trust if there isn't that vulnerability there. And sometimes it can even be hard to like get to that, you know, because we are so used to the pleasantries, and you do go to events or go to things and people are like, hey, how's it going? And then that's it. Or what do you do? Versus like, what are you, you know, what are you passionate about? Like, what do you do it for? What, like, you know, really understanding and getting to know somebody. And lately, just because you have mentioned this, but like lately, especially this week, there have been a few times where somebody has been like, oh, how are you doing? And I'm so quick to be like, oh yeah, I'm good. How about you? And their response has been like, you know, I'm okay. Like, you know, not so great. And I appreciate that because it allows me to take a moment to be like, you know, yeah, it actually, you know, yeah, I feel that. It hasn't been, you know, so pleasant. Or like, let's take a moment to even just recognize that, you know, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on in our own community. There's a lot going on in our own personal like relationships. There's a lot going on internally, and to juggle all of that and to carry all of that is such a burden that, you know, I think taking a moment to acknowledge that everybody is like in that space or could be in that space allows for a little bit deeper of a connection.
Yeah. There's something I'm learning now. Just, there's a guy named Tim Ross, amazing guy. He has a podcast. It's called Wide Open, does it every day on YouTube. It's amazing. Anyway, he talks all the time about holding the tension between two things. So right now, there's a lot of tension holding. And I'm learning to be, I am trying my very best on days, and I didn't do it with you, and I'm sorry, of just holding the tension of, okay, you said, how are you? I'm not great, but, and then trying to explain it in a way, but also if you say, oh, it's been really, really rough out here, to actually put myself aside, to die to myself and go, okay, well, I'm not going to talk about what I want to talk about. I need to just stop, pause, take a minute and go, hey, tell me about it. And then and then stand there in the gap, holding the tension between how I'm feeling and the tension of, okay, this person, they may not have somebody, they may not have a community to talk to. Tell me, even if it takes 30 minutes, I'll make 30 minutes. If we would have started this podcast 30 minutes later, cause you're like, yo, I just need to get it off my chest. I'd be like, cool. Hey, tell me, like, explain everything, because deep down, I really do care.
Yeah.
That's just me. I love people. I may not love every person or even like them, but I love people as a whole. So gotta hold that. So I'm trying really hard to just hold that tension. And a lot of it is just it dying to yourself, which is a whole other conversation.
Right. I actually, a really good friend of mine that I also do a lot of partnership with, when I mentioned Afrotech, like one of the events that we did was called the Brain Break. She's a breathwork specialist and her name is Lisette. She has this great organization called Breath in the City. And the whole idea is around creating space for and doing these active breathing workshops in community that are culturally relevant to us. Because some of the things that you see is just like, what even is this, and so like, she uses music that not only like the beats kind of go with the breathing patterns, but it's music that we would know, gospel, hip hop, R&B. And then there's like a circle afterwards that people can kind of share what came from the session. And it has been really, really healing for me, to do them both in community, but also just to take a moment or to do private sessions with her. Like, the power of breath is something that I'm discovering is just so important. Yeah. And like, knowing how much stress and tension we hold in our body and trauma, and how like, we don't even take full breaths to allow our brain to process like the things that are going on. She even teaches you how to breathe, and like talks about when you breathe, when you take a breath, does it come from your chest? Does it come from your belly? Because that differentiates what, like, are you actually, if it's from your chest, that's survival mode, because our ancestors, when they were hunting and stuff like that, they had to go get the food really quick. It was just like, get a quick bit of oxygen, go make the kill. Like, get a quick bit of oxygen, go do whatever the thing is that they had to do to survive. Whereas when you look at babies that are sleeping, they're breathing, their bellies are rising. And even anybody that's sleeping, if you're in REM sleep, like your belly is what's rising, and it's good for digestion. It's like massaging all of your internal organs, but it's also giving you oxygen that's not stopping right here at the chest, but instead filling your whole body. It's so like, I think the reason why it's wild is because it's like 20 minutes of intentional breathing. It is dying to yourself, because she talks about how our ego is like the biggest barrier in those moments, because it will tell you like, oh, you're not breathing right. Oh, you don't have this time. You should be doing something else. You have so much other things to do. Like, our ego will tell us all of these things. Yeah. And in reality, we are safe, and we do have the space to carve out for ourselves for 20 minutes, to your point, to hold tension, whether it's in community or even for ourselves, and be like, okay, that's fine, but I'm still going to take these breaths. I still deserve this. And I struggled with that. I struggled with a lot of self-care things last year, because I was like, I just gotta keep going. I don't have time to eat. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time I'm gonna stay up all night because I gotta finish this. And it was just like, no, I love pole. Pole has been so instrumental to me in terms of healing, wellness, confidence, all the things. And it was also such a big release for me. But when I started really ramping up in my business last year, it was hard to find time to pull. That started, and somebody in the beginning told me, like, you just need one thing. Whatever that one thing is, do not lose it. Like, don't lose it. And I thought about that, but then I lost it and I let it go. Yeah. And what I noticed was every time I would jump back on the pole, I would get super excited, and then I would like put all my energy into it, and then I would be injured. And so I was facing injury after injury, and that would keep me, away from it. And then I would let the world get in the way, busyness get in the way, and not taking a moment to say like, hey, you deserve that time to spend on yourself, because this is also an important part of like how you can continue to keep going. Like, part of it is that intentional space that we create for ourselves.
For sure. That's amazing. I was going to ask you about, how did you get into pole dancing? We're talking about pole dancing, people.
Yeah, we talk about pole dancing. Listen, let me tell you how I got into pole dance.
Let's go.
Because I think everybody should. I love pole and I recommend it so highly, but I was looking for a workout class, and I was like, ain't no way I'm trying to lift weights and like be at anybody's gym. Like, nobody want to do that, I was living in South San Francisco at the time, and there's not a lot of Black and brown folks there, right?
Yeah.
Oakland's the Mecca. That's where we go,
Of course.
And so I was like looking for different ways to find a workout, and I found these twerk classes, and I was like, now that I can do. That I can do. And so I joined the twerk class, and I would drive like an hour and a half every Wednesday because the traffic was so bad and it was like rush hour. But I was like, I don't care. And so I would drive and I would start taking these twerk classes, and it was at a Black owned studio called Atomic Allure. And I still go to Atomic. I love it because of the community. I came for the workout class, but then I was hearing all of these people, yes, yeah, hit that. Okay, period. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was sweating and I was like feeling good. And my twerk teacher at the time, Carlin, she was like, listen, I teach an intro to pole class after this, and you're driving, so far, like it probably makes sense for you to just stay for that class too. And then you can kind of like it's more worth your while.
Yeah.
So I took my first pole class, and at that point I could not even I would get embarrassed when I was on a plane and I had to lift my carry-on, to put it overhead.
Yeah. You'd be embarrassed?
Yeah, because I'm not strong, and I'd have to be like, oh my God, can someone help? I was just like, this is too much. I can't.
Yeah.
And so I say that because a lot of people's first hesitation is like, oh, I've seen someone do that, or I was interested in that, but I have no upper body strength. And that was like me to the fullest. And so that first few times I was like, what is this? This is hard. But I loved the music. The people were so welcoming and so encouraging that I just kept going. And as I kept going, I was like, oh, I could climb a little bit further. I'm getting a little bit stronger. Oh, you look cute when you do that, period. You looking good, girl. And then you have your friends, you're building community. And then they had a workshop or a showcase. And so it was all these workshops, and people would dedicate a lot of hours of their week to show up consistently, to learn the choreography, to learn all of these new tricks and these new moves. And it was really, really inspiring to me because I had my own self-doubt, my own insecurities. I wanted to quit. And being able to make it to the end, do this big performance, and have this community, it was a safe space.
Yeah,
and it was really a third space.
Wow.
And I think a lot of people found what I really loved was there was so many different types of people in there, different body shapes, different size, everything. And also they were all from different backgrounds. Some people were therapists. Some people were chefs. That's how I met Tirza.
Really?
Some people were business owners. Some people were sex workers. There was such a wide range of people there, all just coming together for this one shared hobby. And I had never been athletic for real. And
Ever?
so when I started, not really, I was a cheerleader, and
that's athletic.
It is totally, but I was a cheerleader until middle school.
Oh, I thought you meant I thought we was talking through high school.
Gymnastics, yeah, because once it got to the gymnastics, I was like, oh, well, we're not gonna. I'll go to art school. So yeah, all of that to say, finding this newfound strength built a lot of confidence for me.
Yeah.
And I realized that I was a tricks girly. I was not scared to try and throw myself around. And then I realized, oh, you're actually really strong. You can do all of these things. And then I joined a dance troupe called Queer Femme that was meant for, Black women and queer folks to be able to perform in safe environments. And so that got me into just the art of performance and being comfortable. And then, I incorporated it with Solid Grounds because there were so many Black and brown women that were coming to, these events that I was having, and they were looking for wellness, and they were looking for a way to, they would ask about it and be like, oh, how do you get into this? And so we started doing somatic Sundays to teach about somatic movement. There's a lot of trauma that you release when you're opening your hips,
Really?
when you're, yes. So that was the other piece. Yeah. So you carry a lot of tension and trauma in your body. And the way that we like move in this world, we're generally like sitting or hunched over. There's not really a lot of opportunity to unlock that trauma and to release some of that tension. But it's also very important, especially for women. We carry a lot of trauma in our hips. Especially if you've had children, like there's just a lot there. And so being able to find ways to move your body freely, to connect with your body. The other piece is like breath is so important. You have to use your core. You have to engage all parts of your body. It's active meditation. You get to listen to music that you want to listen to. You get to do whatever your body wants to do. And so it's this really like liberating experience that is also really good for the body. And so I think being able to connect women and really all folks to that kind of healing, it was somatic movement, somatic therapy. And so we did somatic Sundays, and now we do this thing called Black People Pole Jam. And that is you do sensual stretch. You learn a little sensual stretch. You learn a little twerk. You learn a little intro to pole. And it's just giving people a safe space to come together, have fun, shake some booty, be in community, but then also feel stronger, feel sexier, and really be able to tap in and spend time with themselves. And that's what I love about it for me. Like I can put on music and just spend that time with myself.
Yeah. Of course. How long did it take for you when you first started? How long did it take for you to actually feel like, oh, okay, I'm getting stronger?
I mean, within the first couple months, like maybe month.
Really?
Yeah, because I was going every week. I was going once a week, but I wasn't doing anything else.
You're saying 4 times out of 4 sessions, you were like, oh, yo, I'm feeling a little bit stronger.
Yes, because they would have you do like warm-ups and stuff like that. And so you notice, you're like, okay, today I can't even hold the pole, I can't even lift myself up. And then maybe the next time you get your feet like a little bit off the ground for a second, you're like, wait, I couldn't do that last week. And then the next week you're like, okay, now I can like hold it off the ground for like a little bit longer. Yeah. Okay, now, it was moments like that, and then like when you're celebrating all of the wins every time, it's just encouragement to continue. And for me, like I instantly fell in love with it. So then I started doing it like a lot. But I will also say it can be humbling, and it can tell you about yourself and where your body is at, because even now, having done it for almost 3 years, maybe even a little bit longer, there are times where if I'm like really tired, or my body is really tired, like I can't do anything. And it's like, even though my muscles know it, even though I know how to do the trick, it's sometimes your body is just like, nah, today you don't got it. Nah, and I think rest. That's another piece of it, is like accepting, like, oh shit, I can't do that today. Yeah. Like I gotta be easy with my body. I gotta be gentle. So it is this process of like, oh, it fluctuates. I fluctuate. Another thing is that like people have different journeys and they're in different process. And like some people learn really quick. Some people, it takes a really long time. Like for me, tricks is my jam, but like sensual, low flow, like where you gotta do the heels and make eye contact, like that is a lot harder for me. Whereas with some people, it's the other way around, or some people it takes a longer time to learn how to do certain moves. So everybody's journey is their own. And usually people go through periods where they have to take breaks and pause, but that's also a piece of it too.
Do you think the sensuality thing that you said you struggle with, do you think it's because you have to be vulnerable in that moment, especially like making eye contact with somebody, especially doing something super sensual, is like, you're like, whoa.
I think for me, what it is that it's really hard sometimes for me to like drop into my body fully and like be present fully with my body. Like sometimes, like I think that I'm very much so in my head, you know, like I can overthink, or like I can just be in my head. So like I'll be thinking like, oh, what does this look like? Oh, that wasn't right. Oh, I'm supposed to be doing this. And so not being able to connect fully with your body and just be in that moment is, I think, what makes it a little bit difficult for me personally. And I do think that a lot of people struggle, you know, with being present in their body. And that is like part of the learning. Maybe that's why I like it, because it is something that is always a challenge for me of like, how do I drop more into my body and feel more present in my movement, not only in pole, but just in life, because we be overthinking. I be overthinking, or like I be in my head all the time trying to think of like what's next and what do I do? And that what's next is what will get you.
Say it again for the people in the back.
That what's next is what'll get you.
Facts. For real. Have you ever done yoga?
I have. I love me some yoga.
But you prefer pole over yoga?
I think that they are really good hand in hand, which is why now for the Black People Pole, we've like incorporated sensual stretching yoga. It's like a sensual yoga practice, because yoga is really important for the mind. And so that's why this year it's been a focus of mine. Like I started taking just a yoga class as well, because you need that time to be able to, again, ground yourself and root yourself. And so pole is like that in certain ways, but I was so like, this is my thing. And also to all my ADHD girlies, you know, you be focused on one thing and it's like a hyper focus. So, you know, that was definitely a piece of it. But I also learned, especially through injury, that it is really important to cross train. Like it's important to stretch. And a lot of times we just are excited. And so we'll jump on the pole, or like, you know, you want to just get right to it. But that time of like stretching and grounding is actually important to make the muscle mind connection smoother. And same with rock climbing too. Like that is a very good cross training for pole, because you're using your core and you are using all of your muscles, but it requires a lot of like taking moments of breath and, you know, just kind of being very present in what you're doing.
That makes sense. If you ever decide to, if you ever decide to take solid grounds, if you decide to take it east to Brooklyn, I have a friend, his name is Dr. Mason. He owns a Black-owned yoga studio called Noir Yoga out in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. So if you ever want to like go out there, it's off of like Ralph Avenue in Bed-Stuy.
We definitely are. We're trying to coordinate a supper club in New York. You know, that's where I'm originally from.
I know. So New York's finest.
New York and South Florida, that's what I claim. And so, I mean, I think we're trying to make our way, especially as Solid Grounds has been growing. I just went last year to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and to Houston. And so New York is on the radar. And there's also a pole studio in Brooklyn called Saba. And I haven't been yet, but maybe those two could connect.
Say the word. I will connect you with him. And he's amazing. He's a doctor of education, actually, not like a doctor. He's a doctor. He has his doctorate in education. He's an amazing, like, he's a genius. But he loves yoga, and he just won some yoga grant, something or other. I don't know, for his studio. There's a lot of money. And I was like, I'm proud of this dude. So
that's the thing. I think we're now starting to tap into these wellness spaces. And I'm so happy for that, because Black people deserve rest. And we deserve care, and we deserve wellness, and we deserve moments of we deserve community in these spaces. And so for so long it just hasn't been available, it hasn't been accessible. And so to see so many people thriving in their craft, and like creating these healing spaces for people, it's really, really important.
Yeah. And you're doing the same. You're created experiences for people who don't know it yet, but a meal will heal the soul. It's it's 5 courses. Come on, people. Like, that's a lot of food. And someone's cooking with love. Ugh, come on. Like,
it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I bet.
And I think, yeah, with the coffee shop, when we did the grand opening for Soul Blends, we had, so Cheers is a yoga instructor as
really?
well.
What doesn't this woman do?
She be doing all the things. I feel like a lot of my, like, we're so multifaceted, you know, and that's also another, I just love us rooting for everybody Black.
Hey.
But we started off, so it was like I activated the whole day to kind of show like what the space would look like. But we started off, you know, because it was their very first space, was like our first day was rounding the space with yin yoga, which is more like a restorative yoga. So she came, we did a yin yoga class in the space, and then we did a community altar so that people could write notes, pieces of advice and words of love to the space. But I think that, yeah, modalities of healing can happen really anywhere. And I really appreciate like participating in it and then also being a conduit for it.
For sure. One thing that I've been really, because I suck at self-care. I'm the worst. Like you, I will go and do 1.5 billion other things before I'll take care of my whole entire family before I ever take care of myself. My therapist was like, hey, you have to do something for you. And I was like, so I went to this place here in Dallas called World Springs, and it's like got different pools and waters, and it's got different like pH level. I don't know, it's amazing. That place, the healing thing of water, I don't know. It's so amazing. Like Hot Springs, Arkansas, great, cool, amazing. But there was something about this place because they mimic waters from around the world: Blue Lagoon, Dead Sea, Asian pools like from Japan, South Pacific, American waters. Like, I don't know, but like when I tell you, like you go for 3 hours, you sign up, you pay your like $80. It's 3 hours for another 15. You can stay for 6. When I left that place, I was so relaxed. Like,
I believe it. That intentional time. Okay. I love the water because I also grew up, you know, in South Florida. And so we were always at the beach. That was my grandma's favorite thing to do. And so we would just be by the water all day or in the water. And it's so healing. We're made up of so much water that like we need that. And it's so tied to energy. But I want to ask you a question though, because you were saying like you typically don't incorporate self-care. How do you think that your daughters like see that? Like, because to me, I always wonder, like, even though you take care of them, like we are such big mimics of our parents, you know? So like, what do you think? Like, do you think that will carry with them? And then they'll be like, well, I'm not going to take care of myself and just keep working because that's what my daddy did.
No, because I'm trying, maybe before, sure. But now I do my very best to, even though like, it's like, you know, see, like, what is it? Monkey see, monkey do. I'm like, don't do what I did. I took the terribly long path. And just as a parent, you like try your best to set your kids up differently than you are. So I'm like, okay, I don't ever really prioritize doing things for me, but I'll make sure that they do things for them. Like they'll draw, or they'll like, I'll be like, hey, y'all want to go like to a movie? Or my oldest daughter, she loves art. And I'm like, do you want to go to, like an art class or something or art studio? And she's like, but she's just not social at all. So she's like, no. And she would rather just stay at home and talk to her friends and stuff. But I try to get them to break out of their shell and go, hey, I can do other things. Like, so or if I go and do something for myself, like go get an ice cream or go to World Springs, they're like, why didn't you take us? And I'm like, because I didn't want to. I didn't want to. I wanted to spend time by myself. You're at your grandparents' house. Like, come on.
Yeah, because my challenge to you is to continue to try and prioritize, like find a cadence where even if it's not every day or every week, but like there's a point where you do self-care and you let them know like this is the time for me, because I think even though they might have the space to do like all of the things they want to do, when we don't prioritize ourselves and then we prioritize people that we care about, it can set the precedent that you're supposed to prioritize the needs of people that you care about versus the needs of yourself. And like sometimes just even seeing, and that's just more so not having kids, right? But also having friends that have children and some that I feel like I have been lucky to see just my mom's own experience with like trying to give me everything and focus like to make sure I'm okay. Like, do not take my path, please. Here's literally everything that I can give. But also, in seeing friends that are trying to break generational trauma and, curse it, like trying to break this through changing the ways that they've been raised or like changing for the better in the sense of like spending time with themselves and what that looks like for then their children who see them and then are like, well, she's doing this for herself, or like she's taking this moment, or my dad is doing this for himself. Like I need to be doing that. Like I'm gonna make sure that I have enough whatever money, time, energy, so that I could take myself to world of water. Yeah. Not to say you're not doing that now, but sure. I just I would say like we tend to. I as well tend to prioritize the needs of my family, my friends, the people that are closest to me. I keep a close circle, because, and I give them a lot of love, but I'm learning like, it adds to the burnout.
Of course. Has anyone ever told you you'd be a really great therapist?
You know what it is? I had therapy today, so maybe that's why.
I'm sitting here, I'm just listening. I'm like, because honestly,
that's what it is.
Okay, so my therapist, she has braids, she has box braids like you, but they're blonde, and I'm like, but you're saying the same things that she says, and I'm like, stop confirming things.
Pay up.
I will pay you the same amount I pay her. 0. Thank you, health insurance.
Yeah, period. Out of pocket was my therapist. I was like, I need a black lady.
Mine's black too. Yeah. Shout out Robin. We love Robin. With the most whitest name, but we love Robin. She not gonna hear this. Okay.
You said she's not gonna hear this.
Well, she might. She does follow things that I do, but I love you, Robin. Okay. Taylor Nanz, what is your dream?
What is my dream?
What is your dream? If God himself, if we were to hit end on this conversation and the Lord's like, I am pleased, my children. This was amazing. Taylor, I will give you anything and everything that is in your desired heart. Tell me your dream and I will make it so. What is your dream?
Ooh,
I say this while you think of the answer. You earlier, before we started, was telling me about your 2021 vision board that you wrote down. And like that, you wrote that vision and now you're seeing the fruits of what you wrote. Even though it's not exactly how you saw it or wrote it, the majority of it did sound like it was there. So like, think in terms of that.
I mean, like that still, I wrote about like creating these spaces and watching people, like, I love watching other people's dream. I love being able to make other people's dream come to fruition. And for me, I think, my dream is to be able to travel the world, continue to travel the world, but to have to create love and intention in this world, in the ways that I know how. Like that's what my dream is. I feel like so many times, like, people are carrying so much weight, like the weight of whatever they're going through. And sometimes you just want a place to put your bags down, and like just exist.
Yeah.
And so I think my dream is twofold. Is like, one, to create that space for myself. And then also to be able to really find a way to create that space for others, but also have it be like continued, a rotation of like not having to reinvent the wheel.
Sure. It sounds like you want to bring freedom to people. You want to set people who feel captive in their day-to-day lives or just any part of their story. It seems as if your dream is to set them free.
To build, to create community, to allow people a safe space, to a haven, and to have that haven for myself. Like, I think a lot of what my dream is that I love people so much, and I want them to be able to add and color in this world with all of the beautiful pieces that make up the artwork of us. And at the same time, like, I really think that, you ask that question and it's like, it's hard to answer now because that vision that I had has come to fruition in so many ways. And I don't think that I have yet created a space where I feel like I can necessarily put my bags down too. So I think that if I were to rewrite that, or like if I were to write now from 2025 to like 2027, or however, I did it for 4 years, but 2029, like, it would also be able to have that space for myself and be intentional about it.
Well, since you challenged me, I'm going to challenge you to find that place, that space that makes you put all of your burdens and everything. I mean, obviously you can cast them on the Lord. That's a given, but an actual space for you to literally just, like, cheers, leave your troubles at the door and go to a place where everybody knows your name. And then you can just relax. So that's my challenge to you. You challenge me, I challenge you.
Okay, we'll challenge you. We'll be accountability partners. Boom. Too.
Done. Say no more. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Me too.
It's been amazing. For all the people who want to help support Solid Grounds, help support you, enjoy your pole dancing, your pole bay journey, like, where can the good people find you on the gram, or if you do the TikToks or the clock app, as they call it?
I used to be on the clock app. I am no longer. But you can find me a couple different ways. So if you're looking for Solid Grounds, you can find us at Solid Grounds Co. on Instagram. And if you're interested in learning more about our supper club experience, you can find us at Soulbox SOUL box_supper club. And then if you're interested in following my pole journey, that is at Pole Bete on Instagram. So all different conduits. You got my business side, you got the foodie side, you got the sensual taste side. But follow me on all of the platforms.
All parts of Taylor. We love her as a whole. Taylor, I really appreciate you doing this.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time and your good energy.
Oh, I'm so grateful for you.
And you too.
Yeah. All right, everybody. I will see you next week. It's going to be a good one. Okay? All right. Bye. Love y'all.